Good morning. I'm very happy that I can record another video this morning. And today I would like to try something new. After I did my first 3 videos last week, I got a letter from a lady from Germany. And I would like to read a few lines of this letter and then answer this, talk a little bit about this in this video. Her name is Renate, and this is what she writes to me. I am in a deep hole. Your third video just pushed me further into it, as you talk about how easy everything is. But for me it is not easy, on the contrary. Soham and Swamiji always say that, but it doesn't seem to work for me. I feel terrible, hopeless, and I lose all faith. I don't feel any love for Swamiji either, not like you do. It feels like I'm fighting for survival, and I feel all alone with it. I'm very happy about this letter, because it touches the core of our being human. It touches the core of the challenge we have as human beings on this path. When I talk about how easy it is like I talk as an engineer. It's like a technical statement. Like when an engineer knows how intricate something is and then discovers a method which makes it possible in a relatively simple way, whereas before it was basically impossible to achieve the goal. Then the engineer says, wow, that's much easier than I thought. It's actually possible. And when I say this path I'm talking about here, the discovery of who you really are, this way back into heaven, that this is possible. And that it is possible not as a miracle which happens for a very rare few people, but that it is possible for every human being. Without a miracle, without doing impossible things. This is so amazing, and this is why I say it is easy. You know, I guess usually we think that what Jesus talked about, what he experienced, what he found and achieved in life, or Buddha, what he found, what he achieved in his life, this is impossible for me, for you. This is what we somehow believe. And we believe that in order to go into this direction, a miracle has to happen. But it is not like this. And this is why I say it is easy compared to what we believe. And compared to the fact that it used to be impossible. And suddenly you discover, wow, it is possible. And it is possible for the very simple things. No miracles. And then you say, it is easy. In fact, it is easy. So this is the technical side of things. But we are not technical mechanisms, we are human beings. And the way we experience it is sometimes not easy at all. We are emotional beings. And this path is a very emotional path. And I guess that for every human being, there comes the point where it becomes difficult. It feels difficult. It's not really difficult. Yeah? Technically, it's easy. But we go through an experience of immense difficulty. It's different for each individual. For some people, it's not a big deal. For others, it's a major experience, a major difficulty. And what Renate writes is a report out of this situation, out of this phase in life, which is common to all of us in some way. And when you are in this phase, wise words don't help. When somebody tells you, don't worry, it's easy. Don't worry. It doesn't help. It makes you angry because all you can say is, hey, give me a break, it's not easy. I know. I'm reminded of how it is for children. I'm living with my partner and she has 2 beautiful kids. And with her and the kids, I experience again and again how it is for the children. Sometimes a child goes through an experience which feels for the child absolutely impossible. It's like a breakdown for the child. The child meets agony, total hopelessness. The child does not know how to deal with a certain situation or an emotion, an experience. And for the child, it's a total experience. It's like the child is totally in it. It doesn't know that it will get out of it again. This is all forgotten. It's like the child is completely consumed by this experience. And the child is absolutely certain that there's no way out. That makes for this agony, for this desperation. And what does the child do? The child runs to Mama. And it throws itself into the arms, into the lap of Mama. It's so interesting to experience this, to watch this. The child has no hope. The child is certain this is my end. That's how it feels when this child is in there. And yet it knows where to go. It goes to Mama. And what does Mama do? She doesn't say wise words. She doesn't say, yeah, it's okay, it goes, it will pass, don't worry, don't make such a fuss. No, this mama doesn't say this. This mother's just there, quietly, with the child, feeling the pain with the child, feeling the agony and the hopelessness and the despair, quietly, without words. There's just this openness of the mother, this openness of the mother for this child and its experience. The mother knows that this is not the end. The mother knows that in 15 minutes the child will be laughing again. But the mother can't say this, because it wouldn't help. The mother's just there. And by some mysterious happening, this gets instilled in the child. Nobody says anything. And then it is true, after 15 minutes or 20 minutes, suddenly the child looks up and starts smiling and is in a totally different space. And then it jumps up and runs around again, as if nothing had happened. But the way through this was not through wise words, not through information which told the child what to do. No, not at all. What the child did was total surrender, total giving up into the arms of Mother. And that is what carried the child through it. Without the child knowing what to do, without the child knowing anything. All the child knows is, this is it, this is my end. And that makes for the despair. And this is how it is for us adults. We are still emotional beings. And that's why I don't say these wise words to you. Because they don't help in the situation. So what does help? Jesus has a good advice for us. He says, be like the children. And this is exactly what he points to. Exactly that what I can observe here in my everyday life with these children and this mother. Be like the children. Come to me with your pain, with your despair. Your trust carries you to me and you just throw yourself into my lap. That's what Jesus said when he says, be like the children. It's like he gives us the recipe how to deal with this phase of our life where we meet a seemingly impossible situation. He says, when you don't know what to do anymore, when you feel like this is a dead-end street, you are lost, it doesn't work for you. Maybe for everybody else, but not for you. And you are certain of it. He says, the only thing which helps in this situation is surrender. Give up. And your trust, which brings you to me, that will carry you through. And it's interesting, sometimes people came to Jesus who were already at the end of that phase, and they were coming to him and thanking him for his help, thanking him for healing them, for carrying them. And he said, don't thank me. I didn't do anything. It is your trust that healed you. And he's pointing to, basically this is modern psychology in ancient words. He describes how it functions for us humans. It's not a heavenly miracle, it's how we are made up. He talks about this child. Your ability to throw yourself into my lap, to run into my arms, when you believe that everything is lost, that's what healed you. He doesn't say, don't worry, it will pass. He doesn't say, well, I know you feel like this, but it is not really like this. In reality, everything is fine. He doesn't say anything like this. No, he meets us exactly where we are, in the darkness. And he tells us the only thing which helps. Be like a child. Allow yourself to feel the way you feel. Allow yourself to be this child and just come to Mother. To Him, to God, to whatever is in your life where you can surrender to, where you can trust, where you can throw yourself in front of and weep and cry if you need to do this. And this is the great blessing of having a guru or a master. It gives you this point where you can surrender to. When you are lucky enough to have found a master or a guru, then what happened to you is that you have this trust in you. You don't understand it. You don't know why you feel like this, but there's this trust in you. He or she will carry me. And you don't understand why you feel like this. It feels like crazy and irrational, but you feel like this. And then you can be like a child. And the rest happens by itself. And in the beginning of this video, I said that this letter of Renate, it really touches the very core of our human challenge that we face in this life. It is like this when we start on this path to find heaven. That's the image I use. That's why my videos are called like this. Yeah. What we basically embark on without knowing it in the beginning is forgetting what we believed to be true up to this point. Yeah, we believe that we are this body, we are, this, what I am is what I think, what I believe, what I want, what I know, and I'm this body, and unfortunately this body will die and then I'm gone. That's all these things we believe. And then we come to a point in life where suddenly we begin to discover something completely different. And we begin to discover our true identity. Like we turn around and look into a completely new direction. This is the path back to heaven, when we begin to discover our true nature, our true identity. And although it's a natural process, and that's why I say it's easy, no miracles needed, it all happens by itself, it nevertheless can be a very painful process. Because there you are convinced that you know who you are, you're convinced that everything you know, that everything you think is real, you're totally certain about this. But then a process starts where you slowly begin to discover that it is not like this. You discover new things which don't fit at all to what you believed up to this point. You discover a new identity in you, quietly, subtly. And letting go of this old identity, letting go of all your beliefs, all these things you depended on up to this point. For some people, this can be a very, very intense experience. It's natural. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. Yeah? And it will pass. But when you're in it, it feels like no hope, no way out. And Jesus talks about this natural happening in a human life. And that's why he gives us this one advice over and over again. Over and over in different ways he says, the path is surrender. The path is throwing yourself into the lap of God, into my lap, he says. Come to me. And he says it in many different ways, but the message is always the same. It's like when he teaches us how to pray. Yeah? There's this one scene in the Bible where he tells his disciples, and this is how you should pray. Our Father in heaven, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. This is surrender, what he talks about. Not my will, thy will be done. Yeah. Not my kingdom come, not what I imagine right, not what, all of us know exactly how things should be. And he says, no, This is not the kingdom I want. I want your kingdom. I want this, what I can't imagine, but what you know. This is surrender. He teaches us surrender. Yeah. By showing us how to pray, he shows us the path of surrender. The rest of the Our Father is not from Jesus. This is what people thought should be there. They added it later. They tried to improve on the perfection of Jesus. It's nonsense. It's pollution. But these two sentences in the beginning, this is the essence of what Jesus was talking every day. Thy will be done. And he says basically, when it gets dark in your life, and it will get dark, it's just, just know it. Yeah. Come to me, surrender. And I said in the beginning, this is an emotional path. Yeah. It doesn't help to know these things. The only thing which really helps is be like a child and really throw yourself into the lap of your mother, which is now in this stage of your life, is God, is Jesus, or whoever is in your life who plays this role as a medium of God. It doesn't matter who it is. And doing this surrender, this is the only thing which helps. It doesn't help to know about it. Yeah. And he says, this will carry you through this. Without you knowing anything. It feels hopeless, it feels terrible, and it feels like this is it for the rest of your life. Jesus said, I know this. It feels like this. And that's why I give you this advice. Yeah. Unfortunately, many of the words which were spoken by Jesus are translated just slightly off the point, simply because the people who heard him and the people who wrote his words down and later the people who translated the words didn't really know what he was talking about. The way we read his words these days is, your faith is what will save you. But we translate it as faith as meaning belief, what you believe. But faith has another meaning too. Faith has the meaning of trust. Yeah. Your trust, this irrational, unexplainable notion in you which makes you trust me, which makes you trust God or existence or whatever it is you perceive as the whole, the big. This trust, this is what will carry you through. This allows you to surrender. And that's what the child does. Yeah, it's so amazing. We as human beings, we as children have this ability that in the moment of total despair, where we are absolutely certain that this is the end, it feels like this, yeah? And it feels like it totally. This is what Renate describes to us so beautifully. And yet, at the same time, we can surrender to our mother or to God. And this is all what's needed. This is how we function as human beings. And that's why I love Jesus so much. When you know my videos a little bit, I was never a religious person. I'm not a born-again Christian or a Jesus fanatic, but he has something although I grew up in a non-religious family and my life was non-religious always, funnily enough, this Jesus touched me even when I was a child. There's something so human about him. So, he is an emotional being. He talks to us as emotional beings. He doesn't talk in any philosophical way. He doesn't talk intellectual. He meets us where we are as human beings, totally emotional. He meets us as children. Buddha is a very, very cool guru. He says such beautiful things. But when you are in this phase of life, it doesn't help. You hear these words, you read them maybe on Facebook somewhere or wherever, and you think, yeah, that's true. And then you think, yeah, but for me this is not possible. This only proves that I'm really wrong. And this only proves that for me there's no hope. But Jesus is different. He meets you in your darkness. And he says, yeah, it is like this. And the greatness of Jesus is that he not only talked about it, he showed himself with his own humanity, with his own challenges. He freely showed us his moments of despair, and he showed us how he deals with it. This is totally amazing. This example he gives us. And by that he makes himself one of us. He basically always said, I'm not special. I'm the Son of Man. He says, I'm like you. Yeah? I didn't fall from heaven as a total exception to the rule. No, I'm the Son of Man. I'm further than you on this path. I can tell you about how it works when you encounter the roadblocks, but I'm just like you. And he showed us by example, hands-on, how it works. And of course we totally misunderstood it. We couldn't see it. I'm talking about his crucifixion, his moments of darkness. Yeah, I mean, in the Bible there's nothing said about what Jesus experienced before he began to preach in Judea. It appears like he literally fell down from heaven as a totally cool human being made by God just like this to save us. But of course this is nonsense. People just didn't know where he came from. They didn't know where he learned this. And that's why we don't know that he went through something which is available for us too. We can learn the same things. So we don't know about these many natural phases he went through where he learned surrender. But there are a few points in the Bible where he shows us, where it is written how Jesus deals with it when he encounters the night. And there's the night before the crucifixion. Jesus knew what is coming. He knew that this will come. And he was just like we are. He was just like Renate writes. He was sweating blood. That's how it's said in the Bible. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to go through this. He felt totally incapable. He said, Father, if this cup can pass me, please let it pass. And then, but your will be done. There is the surrender. He showed us, hey guys, I'm like you. I'm totally freaked out. And here's what I do when I feel like this. The only possibility is surrender. And then again, the next day, he got crucified. He was hanging on the cross, and there was the next moment where he was totally consumed by this despair, this human natural state. And again, And he describes it so beautifully. He's so honest, yeah. His despair is so through and through, like the child when it runs through mama. For the child, the world is coming to an end. And for him, it was like this. He says, God, why do you have forsaken me? He's certain that everything he believed is not true. He lost complete hope. Yeah, he lost it totally. Why have you forsaken me? And then he remembers, I forgot. I surrender. And by his example, he shows us what's possible. What happens then? Yeah. You surrender. And this is the miracle of the crucifixion. Yeah? The miracle is twofold. The one miracle is that he was able to surrender. And this is his example to us. This is the example to, not only to Renate, also to me, to you. And then we see what happens afterwards. Yeah. Not only did he survive the crucifixion, Jesus was an amazing master, an amazing guru, even before that. He was, even before this experience, he was the greatest gift to humanity. He was such a channel for God. He was such a medium for this God energy, and he was so much on our human level. So that's why I call him an emotional guru. Yeah, he was so human-like in his divinity. But when he went through this experience of ultimate despair and surrender, it's like he reached even higher heights in his state. Yeah. He survived the crucifixion, something which usually nobody survives. And when his disciple met him afterwards, it's like they met a completely new being. He got it. It brought him so much further on his path to godliness, this path we are all on, that the disciples could hardly recognize him. And this is the result of the surrender. This is the result of this trust. And we don't know about these things. The Christian culture is very narrow, very poor, because it acts as if Jesus is unique. It doesn't tell us anything about any other gurus. It's like he's the only one. And when you are a human being, and when a guru enters your life, when a Jesus enters your life, or whoever it is for you, then this is for you unique. Yeah. There's one guru in your life, one savior, one medium of God, so to speak, whatever it is. Yeah. But historically, of course, it's not unique. But we don't know about these things as Christians. In the Indian culture, it's very different. There's an ancient history of many gurus, and if you want to know it, then you can learn where these gurus, how these gurus got where they are on their path. It's not like a huge miracle and they fell out of sky, out of heaven, and they're suddenly down here on earth, ready-made, like the instant guru. No, there you get the image that basically everybody can become a guru, and this is the path. Yeah. But we don't have this in the West. We don't have this knowledge. We have the contrary. We learn that there's this one absolutely unique human being who is not human at all. He's divine. He is in a way we will never be. And that's why we have all these very strange distortions of what actually happened. But what he lived through is actually possible for every human being. It doesn't mean that you have to get yourself crucified. This is not the message. I had this misunderstanding. There was a time where I thought, okay, this Jesus is so cool. He touches me so much, but I don't want to go on a path where I have to hang on a cross and get crucified. I just don't want this. But this is not the message. This is just a complete misunderstanding. What Jesus experienced was part of his path. We don't know why he had to experience it like this. We don't know this. But it was part of his path. And the message is that when you meet what's difficult for you in your life, when you meet what's impossible for you in your life, when you meet how crucifixion looks in your life, and usually these are subtle things, inside things. It doesn't mean that a dramatic thing on the outside like a crucifixion happens or a crime happens to you or so. No, it's like when you meet this despair, when you meet this hopelessness, no matter what it is, what triggers it, then this is what you do. Surrender. And as Christians, we got told a few things which are simply not true, and that's what makes it so difficult for us to see the simple truth and beauty of what happened there. Yeah, it is being said that Jesus died for us. He did this for us. And this is a misunderstanding. Swamiji, my beloved Indian guru, he said, nobody does anything for anybody else. He says, whatever somebody does is always for himself. But it's the miracle of this existence that if you do that what is truly good for you, what is up for you, when you follow your path, it is good for everybody else too. It's like we are in this amazing puzzle where all pieces miraculously fit together, and when you are the puzzle piece which you are supposed to be, then this will automatically be good for all the pieces around you. You don't even have to know anything about it. Nobody sacrifices him or herself for anybody else. We always do it for ourselves, and that's what the Guru does too. And Swamiji says the same thing about himself. I will talk about more about this in another video, but not now because it gets too long otherwise. But Jesus didn't die for you. He went through this because it was the right thing for him on his path, and he was ready for it. He had the strength and he had the capability for the surrender he needed to go through this, and the result was absolutely beautiful. And you can be certain that the challenge you face in your life right now, you have what it takes to go through there. You say, yeah, I don't have the surrender, I can't do this. Whatever it is you have, no matter how little the capability, it is exactly what you need to let yourself be carried through that. And I want to mention another example of what becomes possible through this childlike surrender. There was this very crazy guru. I think he was Russian or from Armenia. I think I'm not sure. His name was Gurdjieff. He was a really crazy guy, and he was also a totally emotional person. He was also a person of surrender, and there was an incident in his life which I remember when I talk about Jesus' crucifixion. Gurdjieff basically created his own crucifixion. I don't know why he did it, but the way I see it is like he discovered that surrender is the way. And that's what he taught his disciples, how to surrender to seemingly stupid, impossible things. So he had discovered for himself, out of his own experience, that surrender is the secret to life, the secret to come to heaven. And it's like he wanted to know, is this really true? Can I trust what I discovered? So what he did was totally crazy. One day he told his disciples, listen guys, listen girls, I'll do something and I don't know what will happen. I don't know when I will come back. And he got into a very fast car. And he drove this car very, very fast, straight onto a tree. The car was completely demolished. His body was severely injured, but he survived. And not only did he survive, he, out of this total car wreck, with this completely hurt, broken body, he managed to get out of the car. He pulled himself up to the next tree, and he was sitting there and waiting for whatever wants to happen. And later the doctor said that it is impossible for somebody to survive this accident. And they said it's impossible that how he got out of the car and even got up to the next tree. He should have been dead. Just like Jesus should have been dead. He shouldn't have been able to survive this crucifixion, but he did. And Gurdjieff survived this accident. He wasn't suicidal. No, he had so much trust. He was so immersed in the surrender, but there was something which he thought, I have to find out. And he found out. Now, I don't recommend you repeat this, because this will be something else if you copy this. Then this will not be surrender. This would be really stupid. But this was Gurdjieff's path. He had to do it. He had no choice. Right? Just like Jesus had no choice. Jesus knew what was coming. He could have run away, but he couldn't run away. He knew, this is my path. I have to do this. And in other cultures, like in India, there's much more knowledge about what becomes possible through this true surrender. I say true surrender, I mean by this really, it's easy that somebody says, I run my car against a tree too, I want to find out too, but this is not surrender, this is mindfuck. No, I mean by you just let go, and you don't have any plans, you don't have any ideas, and then you see what happens. And in India, there are so many examples of gurus who were the embodiment of surrender, and then some of these gurus display abilities which are basically, they are capable of things which are impossible for human beings. But for them it's possible. And this is a result of surrender. This is a result of what happens when you open up more and more to this what is bigger than you, to God. And this is what the example of Jesus told us. He even survived this torture, this what usually means death. But of course the people who watched him couldn't see this. It was impossible, so they couldn't see it. So that's why they made up this huge story of resurrection and all this nonsense. But the essence is Jesus showed us by his own example how to deal with our own darkness when we meet it. It's an emotional thing. And the only thing which helps is what children do. Surrender. Now you will say, yes, I know you're right, but I don't find any surrender in me. There's nothing. I know if I would be able to surrender, then everything you say is true, but I simply can't. Surrender is nothing you can do. It's impossible. Surrender is something completely impossible. But, the child doesn't surrender. The child doesn't decide, okay, I'm in despair, now I will run to mom and surrender. No. The child is totally incapable. All the child knows is the pain. And trust. It just knows, I run to mama. And this trust you have. Maybe you say, no. I say, yes, you do, otherwise you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't listen to this video. You wouldn't listen to somebody like Soham when you are in satsang. You wouldn't listen to somebody like Swamiji when you are with him. This is a sign of your trust. The fact that you are at all interested in this is a sign of your trust. Maybe you overlooked the trust. That's possible. But that you are here, that you're hearing these words right now means there is some trust in you, otherwise you wouldn't listen to this kind of nonsense. Otherwise it would be just nonsense for you and you would just switch off. You would have switched off a long time ago. There's something about us humans which makes it difficult, and it is that we compare us with other people. And then you see it is the nature of things that what we hear is the loud stuff. Yeah, what we see is the bright stuff, the stuff which grabs our attention. There are some people who experience things and they share it in a very loud way. Nothing wrong with it. But when you tend to compare yourself to others, then you see this display of eruption of whatever it is, and then you say, yeah, I don't have this. This means there's something wrong with me. I can't do this. Yeah, you see this display of surrender or this display of faith and love for the guru, whatever it is. Yeah, Renate says, I don't feel any love for Swamiji. How do you know? Yeah, maybe you saw in some video somewhere how somebody erupts in love emotions, and then you think, yeah, I don't have this. This means there's no love in me. Let me tell you about me. I'm a very cool guy. I mean, not cool in the sense of, I'm somebody other people think is cool. No, I mean, I experience things very quietly. I feel very strong emotions, but in a way I experience everything very quietly. I never danced with joy. I never cried out of love. I never displayed. In all these 23 years with my Master Soma, I never made any display of anything. It's all happening inside in a subtle, quiet, invisible way. And my guess is that it is like this for most people. But what we see, of course, is that what we see, and these are the loud people. And then we think, wow, I'm not like this. If I would be like this, yeah, then I could do it too. Yeah, but it is not like this, For me, it is very, very subtle, everything. when I become quiet, then I notice what's there. And this is enough for me. This, whatever I find in me, this is what's given me, and this is enough for my challenge. So the less you can compare yourself to others, the easier it is. Yeah, because it gives you the completely wrong impression that somebody else has something which you don't have. And there's a second thing which tends to make it more difficult for us humans than it needs to be. And that is being impatient. I mean, it's, I said before, this is a very emotional thing, what we go through. Yeah? And it's only natural that we don't like it. Yeah, we don't like this. We want to get out of it. Sooner rather than later, please. When you watch the children, when you watch a child being in despair, running through to mama, you cannot sense any time in there. The child doesn't say, I want this to be over. This is intellectual, this is a thought. The child is completely consumed by this experience it is in. For the child, it is as if this will be forever. The child doesn't think, why isn't this over yet already? The child is totally in it. And this is what enables the surrender. And basically thinking, why is this not over yet? Why does it take so long? This keeps you away from the medicine. This keeps you away from your own surrender. And it's not true either. I was talking about the fact that in Christianity we have there's a lot of information missing which is present in other cultures. And in India, for instance, people know that this, what we truly are, the soul which travels through life in us, this soul, this part of God, whatever you want to call it, this travels through many lives. It travels through many bodies, not just one. And we don't have this in the West because Jesus chose not to talk about this. He is a very pragmatic guru, yeah, a very human guru. He knows that all this knowledge, and knowing that my soul, knowing that this what I really am, did travel through many lives before. This is not very helpful because for me this is not real knowledge. I can't experience it. This is intellectual knowledge, and that usually gets in the way. This only distracts us and from what's really happening in our lives. So Jesus chose not to talk about these things. He just gave us exactly that what we need where we are. Yeah. But this also means that we that we think, oh, this takes a lot of time. And the Indians know that this is not true. Yeah? The fact that you are here listening to this, that you are open for discovering something completely new, that you are even willing to experience your suffering, that you are at this point of human development is an amazing miracle. And it only happens after many, 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 many lives. But we don't know this. So we get impatient because we are sitting in our little hell since many weeks or many months or many years. For some people it takes 10 or 20 years. But it is a blink. It's not such a short time when you know how long you have been on the way already. But of course this doesn't help you, I know. I just wanted to say this to put things a little bit into perspective. It will soon be over. And the more total you can be in this experience, the more acceptance you can pull together, the easier and the faster it will be. Yeah. There's this beautiful story from Buddha. I don't like Buddha so much. He's too cool for me. He's too... everything he says is right, but he talks about this level which is, for me, kind of unemotional, and that's why it's not so helpful when it gets really tough. At least for me. For other people this might be different. But this one story touches me. And, Buddha was sitting under his tree where he usually was sitting, a great, beautiful tree, and a disciple comes to him, and this disciple wanted to know, how long is it until I will be liberated, until I find liberation? And this is the Indian words for heaven, for when will I enter heaven? When will I overcome this identification with this body and discover who I truly am? When will this happen for me? And Buddha said, 3 lives, 3 more lives. And this disciple is totally disappointed. He said, what? 3 more lives? Oh, I might as well forget it. And he forgets everything. He gives up. And he returns to his old life, and that's it. He gives up. He was not willing to stay where he is. He wanted it to be over, and when he learned that this would be 3 more lives, he said, no, I say no to this. I don't want this. And sometimes later another disciple comes to Buddha, and basically he asks the same question. He says, Master, when will I get liberation? And Buddha said, look, do you see this tree? Do you see all these leaves? As many leaves as are on this tree, and there must have been millions of leaves. This was such a huge, majestic tree. Buddha said, for every leaf on this tree, 1 life. And what did this disciple do? He got up and he started dancing. He said, "What? Only that many lives? You mean it will really happen to me? I will really reach? It will happen. It's true. I am on the right path. Only that many lives, and then I arrive? Oh my God!" And he just celebrates and dances, yeah. And this touches me so much, the story. And then the story goes that in that moment, a great wind came, and the great wind blew all the leaves of the tree. And then only one leaf is left on the tree, and also this last leaf comes off the tree, falls down, touches the ground in front of the disciple, and in that moment it happens. And this disciple becomes liberated. And this is a story of surrender. The more we can surrender, the more we can be where we are, the more we can be like a child who knows nothing but be totally in this experience. The child doesn't know any other way. That's the fastest way. It feels the longest. It feels like if I accept this, it means there's no way out. But the opposite is true. Yeah. So the only advice I can give you when you are facing this part of your life where you feel it's impossible, where you feel lost and hopeless, is surrender. Be in it. Surrender to whatever you can surrender to. Doesn't matter what. To Swamiji, to Soham, to me, to a stone. Doesn't matter, to Jesus. Surrender. Be in it. And then something will happen which will feel like a miracle to you. It's not a miracle, it's normal, but it will feel like an amazing miracle to you. And now you will say, I can surrender. I don't have this. I know that you will say this. When I did the German version of this video, I realized this too at the end. I didn't say it, but I realized it, but then it was already, I'm talking like 1 hour and 15 minutes now, and there's just no time to go into it. And that's why I decided to make a second part of this video where I tell you how you can surrender, how you can learn this childlike surrender in a totally easy way. Yeah. But for now I have to stop. Thank you for being here. And I love you so much. Thank you.